Hello, everyone. Welcome to the last day of Peralta Online Equity Conference, actually the last session with our students, wonderful students. We have a few students in this room now. I know it's a very crazy time for our students, so thank you, each one of you, for being here at this time of the semester. So we've been listening to our wonderful presenters and joining eye-opening, thought-provoking discussions since Wednesday, when we started the second Global Online Equity Conference. Now we're on the third day, and let's think about what we have learned and analyzed so far and combine them with what our students will share with us now. At the end of the day, all this work we've been doing is to create more equitable practices for our students, right? So I'm very excited to pass the microphone to our students and start with each question. But before that, let's see if they prefer to introduce themselves. So Bridget, can we start with you?
Hi, I'm Bridget. I'm a partially in-person and online student at BCC.
Welcome, Bridget. Thank you. Ideja?
Hello, I'm Ideja. I am a full-time student at Berkeley City College.
Welcome, Ideja. And Macarena?
You're on mute.
I apologize. I'm a full-time student at College of Alameda.
Welcome, welcome. I'm just checking if I missed anyone.
Wahiba?
Hi, hello everyone. I'm a student of Reading and Writing 1 and Conversation 2 in College of Alameda.
Welcome, Ohiba. And lastly, Aziza.
Hi, my name is Aziza. I'm a full-time student at Ohlone, and I also have a class at Merritt. And I'm an alumni from Merritt College as well.
Perfect. Thank you again for being here with us. We love to hear from you. We love to learn more about your experiences in online classes. So I'm going to start with my first question. Do you experience any challenges related to technology in your online classes? Please provide examples of the technological challenges you face, such as not having access to technology, not knowing how to use a technology required for learning, or anything else. Also, please explain what did or would help you overcome these challenges. Aziza, do you want to go ahead? Get started.
Yes. So one of the main things that I think was a problem is that one morning we were logging onto our class for 8 a.m. and the instructor had office hours right before 8 a.m. So what happened was, like, majority of the class was locked out while there was a couple of people in her office meeting or office hours. And so we missed a good almost 45 minutes up to an hour of the class time because we were like locked in somewhere, and she had to stop the whole class and restart. And I just think, like, just even if they gave the instructors, maybe what will help, I'm not sure, but I think like giving the instructors a different Zoom link for office hours versus ending the office hours and jumping back on the same Zoom with the same code, because it does delay, the process of us learning and preparing for, our midterms and our finals or whatever course load we need to learn about.
That's a great point. And can I quickly ask, do you prefer in-person office hours or online office hours, virtual office hours, Aziza?
I like both. I think now I'm like online, like I really love online. Because even though we're not face to face, we can still see each other and we can still talk. So I think it's just as effective as it is, if not more. For example, if I'm working full time and I have a family and school is a priority and I'm rushing to school for a meeting, but if I'm in the comfortability of my own home or whatever I'm at, just everything anything else I need because I'm already in my own environment. And that's just for me.
Thank you, Aziza. Thanks for sharing. What about you, Idaja? Do you want me to repeat the question or?
No, I remember. Thank you. One of my difficulties with technology would be Wi-Fi. I had a class and my Wi-Fi went out at the time, and I was really worried. And then I remembered that I got a hotspot from Berkeley City College, so I used that, which really helped for when I needed it. And also another time was when I had a meeting and my Wi-Fi went out again, and I used the hotspot, which was very helpful that they provided that for the students.
Perfect. And Idesha, can I ask how you knew that there's hotspot in BCC?
So I knew from counselors telling me, and my sister, because she also went there at the time. So she told me that they had hotspots and laptops available also on the website. It says that.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm glad the hotspot we're providing in our colleges are helpful for you, right? Thank you. I know some of our students are also using their cell phone data, but they don't want to spend all for online classes, right? So hopefully, please spread the word that we have accessible Wi-Fi. Thank you so much. Alhiba, do you want to add anything, or should we move to the second question?
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a small addition to another student, to the students, that me too, I prefer Zoom, but at the first, I don't want to learn online, because my habitual that I go to school and look to the professor face to face. So by Zoom, the first it was some of difficulty, but now I prefer Zoom than personal office hours.
Oh, but that's so interesting. So at first you said you didn't prefer to take online classes. You didn't prefer Zooms, but then you preferred to take classes online?
Yes.
That's interesting to know. But what changed your mind?
With experience. Sorry, I don't hear you. Sorry.
What changed your mind?
Yeah, because I find that by Zoom I can learn. I can make class Zoom from my home without take car and go until to the college, and I can do many things at home instead of spend time on the way to the school.
So commute was a big problem for you when we had online in-person classes, but online classes were more convenient for you. Thank you, Ahiba. Thanks for sharing.
And now I can't concentrate with the professor on Zoom, but now I can. It was a problem of concentration.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing, Ahiba.
Did somebody else on the panel want to chime in? I heard a yeah.
Sure, I'll go ahead and give my response. So one of the main issues that I had with Canvas was at first understanding the system as a whole and being able to know when assignments were due. But I guess as the semesters went on, I was able to really understand that there's different tools in Canvas. For example, the calendar, which shows the due dates if your professor sets them for whatever assignments are due, and for each of your courses with respective colors that you can choose. And for me as a visual learner, that was the highlight and my saving grace for these past few semesters. So I'm glad that I was able to figure out those tools and use them for my benefit.
Do you now ask those instructors that don't use the calendar if they would add those items so that as a benefit to you and the other students?
I actually did that a few weeks ago in my Communications 1A course. I mentioned to the professor that I was having difficulty knowing when assignments were due because some of the due dates were rolling. And so it was really beneficial for me to know within a certain time frame what assignments were due and when to submit them.
Nice. That's so important that students tell the instructors what they need.
And thankfully, my professor was willing to listen and implement that. So it was great.
Shall we move to the next question, Didem?
Yes.
So some of you mentioned, I think it was Ida just said the counselor told you about the hotspots, the advisors. So we want to transition from the technology challenges you've faced and addressed and how they played out with your courses and support to those online student services. And now that we're coming back on campus somewhat, but still have needs, as Ohiba brought up, it's sometimes more convenient to do things virtually or online. Can you tell us a little bit about how easy or hard it's been to get support services from your campus over the last couple of years, and how you access them, what would help you succeed more? And those services might include academic services like librarians or tutors. It might include non-academic services like financial aid or maybe the registrar, or even things like mental health support. So please, whatever you feel comfortable sharing about reaching out for help with your classes or your experience at your school, please share it. And
Is it frozen?
I was just thinking, is it me or is it Kevin?
Yeah.
I think
Can't
yes.
hear him from my side either.
Yeah. And Macarena or Aziza, do you want to go ahead and answer Kevin's question, or Bridget?
I can answer it, but it kind of went in and out a little bit. Can you ask the question again?
sure, the short version is, because I got a little lengthy there. What kind of online student services have you used over the last couple of years? How you access them, and what services would help you succeed that you haven't been able to find?
So I really big time use EOPS, or I used it a lot for correct pronunciation. I use EOPS a lot. I also use the tutoring, the free tutoring that was available through EOPS. And I also use the office hours and the lab hours of the instructors. But I will say that EOPS was the biggest support for me through providing materials, to providing counseling, to just walking through every step of me graduating, and even to be successful with the things that I needed as far as my materials, and as far as even supporting me and my family during hard times to make sure we had what we needed. And so I utilized everything that I could. Another thing that I utilized was really big was the food program that Ohlone College had. So you would go on the campus, but due to the pandemic, online they offered food, and they offered it through gift cards, and you would get a gift card and you could choose Safeway or Instacart, and I chose Instacart, and that played a big role as well due to the pandemic, because someone delivered, my food to my door. And so, I mean, the resources were just, it was a vast of resources, but those were the ones that stuck out the most, that helped me be successful. And 4 weeks away from completing with 2 degrees, and EOPS played a really big role, and that was all through online.
Great, thank you. How about you, Macarena?
So from my experience in these past few semesters, the main resources that I used were the student accessibility services, because I at times needed a little more guidance than some other students with my course load. And I also used the Accesso program, which helped me in understanding the requirements for my associate's degree as well as for transfer. And in these next couple of weeks, I'll be planning what colleges I hope to transfer to. And so I've really benefited from these programs, and they've helped me in my past few years here at College of Alameda. And so I highly recommend the EOPS program, as well as Accesso and the Student Accessibility Services, because I've used all of those programs and they've all really helped me with understanding my career goals, as well as my goals for transferring in the future. And as was mentioned before, there are many student services. For example, there was a Safeway gift card program that gave students $3 of gift cards for foods to buy food whenever they needed to. And especially during this time where food prices have increased drastically, I've really benefited from it and have used it with my family and family members. So these programs are truly beneficial, and I've really used them quite well these past couple of semesters.
Thank you for sharing that, Macarena. Before we move on, do any of the other panelists have any comments they want to make about student services?
It's great to know that it's so helpful for you. You know, it's not there just to be there. And I'm glad you're getting benefit out of all these services. I hope all students will do the same, hopefully. And I think I can move on to the third question, right? So we have been talking about UDL, Universal Design for Learning, in different sessions throughout the last 3 days. So this question is about UDL. So were you given, my dear students, were you given multiple paths to complete learning tasks? So were you provided options for homework and in-class assignments, for example? What kind of differentiated assignments or lectures, like videos, audios, written presentation of content, group or individual work, different ways of submissions? These are some of the examples of differentiated assignments. Which one of them would you prefer to see in your class? And please explain why. If there are a lot of questions, I can rephrase them as well.
And I think Macarena is the one who's signed up to answer this question about multiple pathways to complete learning tasks.
All right. So I wasn't sure if there was another student that wanted to respond, so I just gave them time, but I'll go ahead and give my response. So in my experience this past semester, there were multiple courses that I've taken where the main assignments were written, and I understand that that's the requirement for a lot of these courses, but I feel like there were opportunities where some assignments could have been given in, for example, formats where the student could have presented a PowerPoint presentation and still made that information known to the class through a PowerPoint presentation. I mean, I feel like I would have benefited from that as well, knowing that it's easiest for me to give visual representations of certain ideas and express them that way. But it was a little bit difficult knowing that I had to give multiple page essays for certain topics that I could have also been represented through a PowerPoint personally.
Anybody else? Bridget, Aziza, Idaja?
Yeah. Can you go ahead and paraphrase that question, please?
So when, in your class, from online classes specifically, you have assignments or presentation of content. Do you prefer the content to be presented in different ways, like videos, PDF, in written text, graphs, different types?
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. So honestly, I was thinking about this the other day. I prefer, like, they have the syllabus on the modules on the PowerPoint. That's my favorite. And then I like short lecture videos. Like I have, yeah. So I prefer short lecture. I find that to be 20 minutes or under, even just 15. And then the PowerPoints are actually great because with the PowerPoints, you have the word information and sometimes you even have the pictures depending on what class you're taking to give us a visual. So PowerPoint is definitely the way to go. And just a short lecture, because I'm like, we're not face to face, so we don't need like 57 minutes, just a few minutes. But yeah, those are my two preferences. Thank you.
And Aziza, I'm glad you brought it up because I also one of those people who have short attention span. And if I watch videos like more than 30 minutes or so, it's sometimes I lose my focus and I'm distracted easily, right? And I believe many students are experiencing the same thing. So having shorter videos and maybe very precise PowerPoints are really helpful for our students. Thanks for reminding us that. Yeah. Anyone else who would like to share anything about this question?
I'm gonna hold on one second. Sorry.
I do want to add really quickly that not based on assignments, but more tailored toward the lectures that are for different courses. I do find it really helpful that, for example, my Anthropology 1 class does give visuals in PowerPoints as well as short and written explanations. So I find that beneficial and it has really helped me this semester, especially in that course.
Thanks for sharing, Macarena. It's really important for us to know what you're experiencing in online classes so that we can serve better and revise our classes, course materials in a better way. Thank you. Okay.
Maybe I'll jump to the next question. So student panel, we've been talking a lot throughout the conference about creating a sense of connection among the students and the teacher, and also a sense of belonging in the class, in the discipline. And so we wanted to know, feel a sense of connection or community in your classes. And maybe we can start with Bridget.
Okay. I would say I'm not a very social person, but when I took in-person classes this year, I was able to make good social interactions with around 10
You know
people
what I
in
was
my
gonna tell you?
class.
I only have 10 minutes left on my lunch break.
And the way group work is set up makes for memorable interactions, which gives me education in not only the classwork, but in understanding others.
And were there any things in particular that your teachers did to help build a sense of community in your classes?
Yes, the teacher, my psychology teacher, she had us introduce each other to our classmates and like had group work where we talked about things, you know, we had in common related to the class, and it definitely built a strong sense of community.
Thanks, Bridget. And I think Aziza, you had signed up to address this question too. Do you want to?
Yes. So I at first I'm not really like for the big group assignments, but if you put 2 or 3 people together to complete a group assignment, you begin to feel some sense of community because you're in contact with these individuals. You're in contact with these individuals online, on the phone, on Zoom. And so an example is we had a project and then we completed it and our teacher gave us another group project with different groups. But I had someone from my previous group reach out to me, you know, with help to like relate to another group member in a totally different group. And so she only felt comfortable doing that because we had some type of community and some type of rapport built with us working on our same group assignment. So you do make connections with people, and over the courses of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks, you build some type of community where if you're excited about school and you like your class, you definitely build that community with the teacher as well as the students. Because I have a couple of teachers who've left a great mark for me, even last semester, that still reached out to me this semester, and was through the online community and feeling like I was a part and not distant. Thank you.
And I'll ask you the same thing that I asked Bridget. Was there something, those 2 or 3 teachers that you just said are memorable and are still reaching out? Were there specific things that they did to help you feel like you were part of the community?
Well, they value our feedback when it came to learning about the content. They valued our feedback, they listened, and then they gave us advice. And then they follow up to see where we're at. So it's all about making a connection and then keeping the connection while teaching us, hearing us, but yet teaching us.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. You're welcome.
Does anyone else on the panel want to make any comments about their feelings about connection or community in their classes?
Hidayah, Ahuba. Okay. Which brings us to the last question of the panel. Okay, it's about bias. Have you or your friends experienced any assumptions or biases from your classmates or teachers? How did you realize there was bias in your course materials, assignments, or in the attitudes of your teachers or classmates? And what was your reaction? So basically, have you ever sensed or experienced bias in your classrooms from your teachers or from your friends? And how did you react? How did you feel when you experienced that bias?
I'll share mine because I signed up to share. Okay, so one thing I think that really stuck out to me was one teacher where it was a heavy course load and it was for exams, and her expectations of us answering an answer 1 to 2 per minute was not a great expectation. It was unrealistic to me. And her comment was, well, on average, this was just in general, she said this. She said, on average, most of you, she goes, you all are, or most of you are answering questions 1 to 2 minutes. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is microeconomics. I'm not. It's taking me 3 to 5 minutes because I need to reread this and make sure it's right. So I emailed her and I messaged her and I said, that's not accurate for everybody. And she said out loud, and I just thought it was biased. This is just me, but she said like, well, if you need special education or special accommodations. And I was just like, first of all, if I did, that's not everybody's business. And then second of all, that's not to me, she would bring it up throughout the semester. And so I had to go ahead and email her and let her know that wasn't okay, that wasn't the fact for me. And then she left a survey open where we could put what helped and what didn't. And people did say a few people, and we need more time to do our work, not 1 to 2 minutes or 1 minute per question, And so to me, it was a little biased of hey, this is the select few who can do this. And so if you're not on board, she didn't say that, but that was my takeaway. You need to get on board or go get some other help. And she didn't bend at all. And I'm just it's a pandemic, we want to be successful. Everybody do, and everybody does. And just because I can't answer a question, 1 question per minute, I shouldn't be in. And my grades were honestly, everything was high except my exams because it was just too long and I barely passed. I mean, I ended up getting a B, but it was hard. It was very hard. So that was my experience.
Oh, could I chime in?
Please.
So I don't know if this is a bias necessarily, but at Alameda College, I had an English teacher and he gave me an F on an assignment because the heading wasn't exactly how he wanted it. He wanted the heading of the essay to be double spaced, and then yeah, it was just strange.
Thank you both for sharing those experiences.
Thank you. Any other final comments? And then we're going to open up for discussion. We're going to get some questions maybe from the audience. And I already see questions in the chat box, so I'm excited to see what other questions will come up. But before that, do you want to add anything else in general about bias or about any other questions? If you want to go back and if you remembered anything you want to share now, please feel free to do so.
Oh, are you asking the students?
Yes.
I just wanted to say the courses I took for my degree I found really relevant. Like when I took biological anthropology, we learned about epigenetics and neurons, and those things were brought up in my psychology class as well, which was helpful.
Thank you, Bridget. Thanks for sharing. Any other final comments or anything? Excellent. Don't go anywhere, dear students, because we have some questions from the audience. I see one question from Christina, but let me see if there are any before that. Okay. So Christina's question is this: what was a positive experience you had in regards to equity in your college experience so far?
This might sound silly. I don't know what the word equity means exactly.
Bridget, believe me, it's not silly. We're still discussing the definition of equity here for the last 3 days. Don't worry. It's not only you. But think about all the experiences you had so far. Do you feel like your experience?
Equity?
Say it again. Think about all your experiences in college and think of like if you are being treated fair, if you think that you are included in, did you feel included all campus atmosphere and activities and in classroom materials? Do you feel like your identity, your culture, your background is represented in classrooms? These are some of the examples I can give.
You know, I have to say, besides the one teacher who graded me poorly on the title heading, I'd have to say every single teacher I've had outside of that, I really enjoyed. They made me feel very comfortable and safe, and it made for a positive learning experience. And I just wanted to go back to school. I'm like, oh, I love my teachers.
That's great. That's great.
Aziza, sounded like you wanted to jump in there.
Yeah, sorry about that. My internet's unstable. But yeah, for sure. In my child development classes, like, you know, we talked about community and culture, big C, little c. And we were able to share, you know, stories about diversity and just talk about a lot of different things. And, you know, even in another classroom, it was the same thing. And so I really do feel that the support of, you know, from where I came from and who I am, and even life experiences, some of those things were touched on. And not only myself, other different, you know, other students, other cultures. And so I would say, yes, I had a great experience within that aspect.
Thanks. Any other panelists? Macarena, Ideja, Oiva? Do you want to address any positive experiences you've had with respect to equity in your experience?
So in my personal experience, this semester at College of Alameda, I've taken Anthropology 1, Anthropology 3. And so Anthropology 1 is physical anthropology and Anthropology 3 is social cultural. And both of those classes had some overlapping information. But what I really loved from both of those professors was that they were understanding of the differences in cultures. Even though the physical anthropology course wasn't necessarily focused on culture, professor made it clear that her knowledge of the history of different communities was important to her. And she made students feel accepted. And even after class had ended, she took time to speak with her students about different topics that they were interested in, or maybe just to chat a little bit about something that someone had mentioned during class. And in my Anthropology 3 course, which is more directly focused on culture and communities, the professor allows students to write discussion responses where students are able to pull from their own personal experiences, their own cultures, and integrate those responses to the assignments and the questions that she poses to us. And I feel that those 2 classes have really been a great experience for me and have helped me learn about other cultures and helped me feel more confident in expressing the joys and the beauty in my culture, as well as learning about the cultures of other students and the history of how these cultures and their social norms form.
Thank you, Macarena. We have 5 minutes left, so I would like to continue with the other questions in the chat box. Susan asked, she said she offers students the option to post text, audio, video responses in discussion, but students rarely post audio or video. So, and she's asking, like, how do you feel about posting audio or video responses? Do you feel maybe shy recording yourself, or how do you feel about that type of assignment when you're required to, or given up to record yourself?
I'll speak on that. I actually have to do that for my macroeconomics. And I was just like, geez, I have to write a paper and record myself. But I guess if it's for the grade, then you just have to do it. So it's just like, it's online. You gotta take what comes with it, right? But I do feel like if a thing is being recorded and you don't want to be recorded, then you should be able to like take yourself off screen. So in respect of those things, I that's how I look at that. But recording myself, I'm like, if it's for the grade, it's for the grade, and I'll just record top up.
Thank you. And Ideja, I saw where you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, I think personally for my own self, I would prefer to write instead of recording myself, either video or audio. I feel like if I'm recording a video, I feel like I need to have a script, and that's even more work that I have to do than just writing it out and just sending it in for an assignment. So I would prefer to write it instead of recording myself, but that's just me.
Thank you. Anything else you want to share? Okay.
There was a good question. What is your advice for new students?
I'll chime in on that. I think some good advice is to know that the teachers are there to help you succeed. And if they're not, then speak out about it, because that's usually the goal most of the time.
Thank you. We haven't heard from Oiba. Do you want to jump in?
I think she left because I believe she had some connection issues. Yeah.
Anyone else on the panel have advice for new students?
Yeah, I think my main piece of advice would be learn about the resources that are available to you that first day of orientation, or whenever it is that you
Get the bags up.
Be on campus or even virtually.
Or you want?
Make sure to reach out to counselors, since at first you're not gonna have the clearest idea of what's happening on campus. I'd say definitely reach out to a counselor, have them guide you with your courses if that's something that you have trouble with, and just get to know the campus and the resources that are available to you, because those will definitely be helpful in the future, even if in the present moment you don't think you'll need to access them.
And another question I'm just really, really curious to know about rubrics. So Denise and Teresa, they asked questions about the rubrics. So some assignments have rubrics, I believe, in your classes. And when the teacher grades your assignment in a rubric, do you check the rubric items before or during, after the assignment? How many of you check the criteria in rubrics?
I think I'll answer this one. I think they're very helpful. Not all teachers provide them. I actually have a class that I'm taking now and she doesn't provide them. I feel like when I get my grade back, I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing this right or wrong, because not only are you not giving me feedback, but there's no rubric. I think they're very helpful. Especially when writing an essay, I check and see if I meet every criteria on there before and after when I'm writing or whatever assignment is that I'm doing. So I think that they're very helpful.
Thank you.
Yes, and I can say all my classes had a rubric. So that it is helpful because you know what goal you're working towards, you know what the expectations are. And so you know what you need to like touch on or meet the goals you need to meet to receive a proper grade or a good grade.
And to add on to that, I'd say from my experience in these few courses that I've taken this semester, I've had professors that don't utilize syllabus for rubrics for certain assignments. And I feel like it does leave me questioning whether or not I'm doing the assignment to the degree that they want or that they are going to deem as acceptable or going to give a high grade to. And with the assignments that do have a rubric, I'm able to gauge my writing and know exactly what I need to add in certain areas to make sure that the grade that I want is going to be received after I submit the written portion of the assignment. So I definitely benefit from the rubrics, especially when they're clearly written, because there are some rubrics where there's information given, but sometimes it's written in such a formal way that it's hard for me as a student to understand what exactly they want for a high grade.
Thanks, Macarena. And that's an important point. And that was a follow-up question from one of the audience members. So thanks for making that.
Kevin, I know we are over 3:45, but do you want to take one more question from the chat box or should we end here?
I guess maybe just let everybody kind of like a tweet on Twitter, just a really short thing about one thing that has helped you or one thing that would help you related to equity at your college. Kind of some closing thoughts. Maybe we can start alphabetically with Bridget.
Could you repeat it a little bit?
Sure,
Sorry.
just any closing thoughts about ways that you have found teachers have helped you, or what would help you more if they would do it more often?
I think in-class assignments are really helpful to me because you can do the assignment, but also get help from the teacher when you need to. And I also really like group projects or group work because you're able to use your knowledge as well as other people's knowledge and kind of just bounce off of them. I think that's great.
Thanks, Bridget. And then, oh, Aziza. I was going alphabetically, but I didn't catch iPhone as really Aziza. So let's go to you.
Yes. So I like what Bridget just said as well. If I can piggyback off of that, you know, in class assignments, that's the one that really helped me as well. I have a 52-page binder that I'm creating for one of my child development classes. And it's like, okay, what does she want again? okay, I have to watch this video and read it like 5 times, but she began to do part of it with us in the class, and it gave me a greater understanding. And so just those in-class assignments, those community connections we talked about earlier, and then making it plain with the rubric for the curriculum and the expectations are totally, it's just gonna help someone be successful.
Thank you.
Thank you, you're welcome.
Ida.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. Just one thing that has helped you or one thing that would help you if teachers did it more.
One thing that has helped me would be the audio recordings that the teachers provide. I don't watch the whole thing because it's very long, but if it'd be shorter, it'd be better. But those help in slides. Yeah.
So providing materials in different formats. All right, Macarena, you get to close us out.
So I would say the main benefit for me this semester with my courses was being able to go back and watch the recordings, knowing that there were some moments in the lecture where I was a bit confused and didn't have the opportunity to ask the professor. So I was able to just go back, review the information for myself, slow it down if I needed to, as well as in another course where the professor makes the PowerPoints accessible for us to view, as well as she embeds short videos that add information on certain topics that we've discussed in lecture, as well as videos that are mainly just for our entertainment purposes. So it's not fully focused on class assignments. There are some times where we can have leisure moments, and then there's also opportunities to go down wormholes if we get too excited. So I really do benefit from multiple sources of being able to get multiple sources of information in different formats, definitely.
Great. Well, we'd like to thank all of you, Aziza, Bridget, Ida, Macarena, and even though she left, Oiba. And so maybe we can all give them a big round of applause with our icons. And we'll follow up with you students to thank you again via email and let you know how we'll follow up with you. Didem, any final thoughts you want to say about the panel before we tell people about our closing session?
Yes, our closing session is about to start. But thank you all our students. Thank you so much for being here. I know you have to go back to your studies and all other things. And it was really very important for us to know your experiences. So thank you for sharing. And we wish you luck in your studies for the rest of the semester and in your life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Aziza.
Thank you.
We're going to have a closing session in 7 minutes, and we're going to close the second Peralta Online Equity Conference.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So we'll stop the recording and then we'll see everybody back here in 7 minutes for the closing ceremony.